Now, in the world of collection log hunting, the last couple of months have been kind of crazy. There's been a few collection logs that have finally been completed for the very first time, and we can now definitively say who is closest to completing the collection log and roughly how many hours it will take to complete it. Now, all this information in the video was provided by the helpful folks over at the Log Hunter Discord, so if you're interested in a collection log community, definitely go check them out. There will be a link in the description for the Discord. Their resources were super helpful making this video, and you'll understand why in a minute. Now, let's start off with what I think is probably the most widely publicized world's first completion, and that was by someone by the name of Sedge, who somehow managed to complete the Elite Clue Scroll collection log. Now keep in mind that the mega rare items like Third Age or Gilded are included in a separate log, but that doesn't take away from how impressive this accomplishment really is. There are 59 unique items in the Elite collection log, and it took them over 5,000 Elite Clue Scrolls to reach this goal. That is an insane amount, and if you look at the high scores, they have almost triple the amount of Elites done as the second ranked player. Now, completing this log is very challenging, mainly due to one section of item, the Dark and Light Tuxedo set. These items are 10 times rarer than any other unique item, which makes it so you have to complete thousands of elites to have a chance of completing it. And you can verify how rare they are by going over to their collectionlog.net page, and when you look at all the items that they received, they have dozens of pretty much everything else, but the dark trousers only one, the light trousers only one, super rare items. And to cap it all off, on top of being the only person to have the Elite Treasure Trail section done, they've also fully completed the hard clue scroll log as well with 4,000 clues. The mediums are done with 11,000 mediums, and they also have the easies done with over 10,000 clues completed. Now, due to the sheer quantity of clue scrolls they have done, they've actually managed to fill out the mega rare section a decent amount. Like, they almost have one of every single piece of Gilded. They're only missing a few items here. They have multiple pieces of Third Age. But with that said, there are still players out there that are luckier than Sedge. Now, recently there's been another section of the collection log that has been completed for the very first time, and that was done by one of the top ranked player, Basiligis, who currently is ranked 2, but has been in a constant battle for the #1 spot for a long time. Now, what section of the log has never been completed before until now? Well, that's actually the miscellaneous tab. Basiligis is the first person now to ever complete the miscellaneous tab, and you can kind of see why it was so challenging. There are some hyper rare items in here. I mean, you got the Dragon Warhammer, the Dragon Full Helm, the Amulet of Eternal Glory, the Evil Chicken outfit, which is notoriously really hard to complete. Side note, I really like how they add the date that the log slot was completed. Super helpful. But on top of that, you also have the Dragonstone armor set. I mean, there are items here that take a long time to complete. But as of, I think, Boxing Day, when they received the Dragon Full Helm, they are now the first person to ever complete this section of the collection log. Now, another player we definitely have to have a look at is Tortunama. Now, I'm not sure if they are the first person to ever complete this log, but they are a high-ranked collection log hunter, and clearly they specialize at raiding, because if we go over to the raids log, it's done. All 3 of them 100% complete. I've not seen another person who has done this, partly due to the fact that Tombs of Amascut is very new, but partly because it takes thousands of hours to do this. Now, to complete raiding collection logs, not only do you need to get some of the rarest items like the Twisted Bow, the Omelet Pet, but you also need to acquire the Completionist Capes, which can take hundreds of hours on their own. I mean, it looks like this player just completed Zarek's Champion, which is 2,000 challenge mode completions. Moving on to Theater of Blood, where they completed literally everything, including the 2,000 Theater of Blood completion requirement for the Sinhaza Shroud 5. And probably the most surprising, because TOA is so new, we have the Tombs of Amascut fully completed, including all of the unique items, all of the different transmog kits, and on top of that, the Ichilthin's Shroud 5, which is again acquired by completing 2,000 Tombs of Amascut, which Tortunama has to be one of the few players who have this many TOA completions, and maybe one of the only players ever to have all 3 raids log completed. Now the final player whose log I want to really highlight today is someone who most people probably know, Hey Jace. Now they are a front page collection log player, ranked number 14 currently. Obviously their collection log is very impressive for a ton of different reasons, but one thing that Hey Jace has fully completed that no one else in the history of the game I believe has done is a full set of hard clue gilded. They have one of every single gilded item here, and so much third age as well. They're actually only missing 5 pieces of third age, and they're on track to be one of the only players ever to complete this section as well, with 30,000 hard clue completions. But if you look at the elite gilded section as well, they're only missing a single item, the gilded coif. So it's clear that Hey Jace has probably invested more time into collection log hunting than pretty much any other player, but they're actually only ranked 14 when it comes to overall high scores. But there's actually a different way to look at this, based not on how many items you've completed, but how many hours you've invested or efficient hours collected. It's a very similar metric to EHP, which is a very common thing people use to measure leveling in old school, but this is efficient hours collected. Who is actually the closest to completing the collection log, not based on the quantity of items acquired, but based on the quality. Now, thanks again to the Collection Log Discord. Recently, they made their EHC Spreadsheet public, which means anyone can go ahead and look at it. Now, when it comes to efficient hours collected, there's 2 different ways to look at the overall spreadsheet. A calculation that includes third age items and one that doesn't. Now, the reason that there is a distinction is because third age and more specifically third age Druidic heavily skew the amount of hours that is required to complete the collection log. For example, if you manage to get a third age pickaxe on your very first master clue, that would be equivalent to thousands of hours of collection time, but you are technically much closer than somebody who has invested thousands of hours and hasn't gotten a third age Druidic piece. So let's start off by looking at who has invested the most time into collection log hunting, and now the high scores start to look a bit different, although not drastically yet. Now currently at the number 1 spot is Casey with nearly 11,000 hours of efficient collection time. They've spent 4,000 hours efficiently killing bosses, 3,000 doing clue scrolls, and 4,500 doing the other section of the collection log, which is crazy. Now after them comes a player by the name of Marnie, and what's really interesting about this is if you look at overall high scores, Marnie is ranked 43, which is still impressive of course, but not even on the front page. But when it comes to the realistic hours they've invested, they're actually ranked number 2. And then at number 3 we have Hey Jace, which has nearly 5,000 hours invested into clue scrolls, which is crazy, but they haven't really touched the minigame log nearly as much or their rating log. So this is a really interesting breakdown of where people have really been investing their time. Now I think it gets even more interesting when you include third age into this calculation, because the disparity between players who have managed to hit certain mega rare items and those who haven't is very large. Now if you include third age, Marnie is actually the number 1 ranked player based on who's actually legitimately closest to completing the collection log. The reason they are is simply because they have managed to hit so many pieces of third age, specifically the mega rares for the master clues. Like, I mean, they have a third age pickaxe, they have third age Druidic, 2 of them, not that that matters, the third age wand, cloak, and bow. Now they are 100% deserving of this number 1 spot because they have invested 10,000 hours plus into this, but they've also gotten historically lucky in getting these third age pieces. So because of that, their total efficient hours collected is 27,000, which gives them the number 1 spot by a significant margin. The number 2 spot goes to Hey Jace, thanks to all of the gilded and third age items they have managed to acquire. Their total EHC is 23,000 hours. And then you have an Ironman by the name of Watch HPTY who has 16,000 EHC, and that's mainly because they just so happen to get a third age Druidic staff and a third age Druidic cloak, and that has added up to thousands and thousands of hours closer to the overall goal. So incredibly interesting. If you do want to look at the spreadsheet, it is available in the Discord. Now that left me with one question. How close is a player to completing the collection log? Now, part of a requirement to actually have a high score that measures efficient hours collected is actually calculating how long on average it takes to complete sections of the collection log. Now, this was done using some statistical calculations where, my brain kind of phased off into another world while I was explained. Here is a breakdown on how many hours it should take on average to complete the collection log, and it's a lot. It would take just over 64,000 hours of efficiently playing this game to complete the collection log. That's 2,682 days, or just over 7 years. So it's very unfeasible to complete, but technically possible. The vast time sink of this is definitely clue scrolls. You can see it's 53,000 hours for clue scrolls, which is the grand majority. If you take that out, it does become a lot more completable. So is anyone ever going to complete this? I think it is possible. I mean, technically someone's almost halfway done, but it's going to require immense dedication and also an insane amount of luck for this to get done in the next decade. Thanks for watching as always, and I will see you next time. Now, quickly before I go here, I just want to thank all of my members over on YouTube. Thank you so much to Alejandra, Prophet of the Boosh, Mitch Reinders, The Hybrid, and Kush Patel for all being subscribed at the Dragon tier. Also, a giant thank you to YoYoSup89 and NDM0001 for subscribing at the Runite tier. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.